we only say female-fronted bands. No one calls it a male-fronted band because that is the standard. That is what we all assume. So you have to go out of your way to distinguish.
What's going on? This is Tori Kravitz. Welcome to another episode of She's with the Band here on KNOTFEST. It is a joy and a pleasure to welcome Ariel from Icon for Hire to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We're in Orlando today.
Yeah.
It's nice. We had a day off yesterday, so I'm like slightly more refreshed than I would usually be at this point in the tour.
Good.
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, good. And I don't always hear that about Florida. I hear a bit of a hate for Florida sometimes because it's hot. I mean, it's July.
Yep.
It's not always easy around here, so I appreciate your optimism.
We haven't played Florida in like a couple years. There's been some pent-up demand, so we're happy to be here specifically.
Good.
Like, yeah, we get a lot of requests for it, and it's kind of out of the way. You know, we don't always incorporate it, but this time it made the cut.
I'm very aware of how inconveniently located we are within the country, so thank you.
I'm sure you hear a lot of bands
for
complaining about that.
More so, I see bands not putting Florida on their itineraries anymore, so I'm like, wow, do I need to move to Georgia? What's going on?
Right?
Maybe.
Atlanta gets hit all the time.
I know.
It's more central. That's like one of the reasons we live in Nashville where we live is because it's in the middle of the country. Like we picked it kind of in the middle. So we could do East and West Coast touring somewhat easily without having to start at one end.
Yeah, and it's like the music city that's not LA, so it's like a little less punishing, but still, you know, involved in the scene and your people are around. Yeah. That makes total sense.
Yeah, we've been there like 8 years. It's cool to watch it change. It's gotten a lot more progressive, which is great.
And I know a lot of my industry friends are moving out there.
Exactly.
The pull is there.
Totally.
Maybe I'm next.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God, you totally should. I try to get everyone. I'm like, come on down. Like, we're a little bit cheaper than LA, maybe slightly less pretentious. I'm not sure about that, though. It'll be there any minute.
Yeah.
The thing I don't love is like, there's not like a fashion scene there, you know, or...
I think you're responsible for it. You are the fashion scene. Have you ever thought of that?
Oh, I will take it. No.
You don't see the fashion scene because you are it.
Oh my God, this is brilliant. I never thought of that, but thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'll take what I can get.
Well, I was talking about your top, how cute it is for anybody who's listening on audio.
Oh.
Maybe check out the video because it's very cute. But I know that are you still into minimalism? Because I saw that on your YouTube channel.
Oh my God, am I still? Yes, I am. So I thrift most of my clothing and then I take it home, cut it up, and change it a little bit. Is like the general just stuff. So I don't pay more than $5 or $10 for one item of clothing. And even like stuff I wear on stage, I make it from scratch. Or this is because I'm cheap, and it's because I'm frugal, because I'm a musician, not just because I'm like some enlightened minimalist. You know, this just like happened naturally. But it has to like create a more peace in my life to not have a bunch of crap. Yeah,
I can imagine. I listened to your YouTube video about minimalism. I was so into it.
Really?
I was like, I'm gonna Marie Kondo my life.
Yeah.
And then I looked in my closet and I got so stressed. So I understand, and I need to take this tip from you immediately, I think. And plus it creates a more unique wardrobe because everything you have is one of a kind, like thrifted, and you're customizing it. So it's all about style.
It's all about simplicity and making it easier in everyday life. So when you wake up, you're not overwhelmed with the choices. So you can save your brain space for other choices that you care more about versus just how you're presenting yourself in the world, stuff like that.
Yeah, and wearing all black also helps because then everything matches.
Totally, and getting tattoos helps, or having your hair dye help, because then it's like you're already done without like putting a lot of effort in. So
that is it.
It's just the lazy person's way to do it.
Yes, because I have such colorful and crazy tattoos. I'm like, well, I can't wear anything too crazy because I don't want to, you know, distract from my crazy colorful arm.
Right.
So that's the strategy, really. Permanent accessories so that my clothes don't matter.
So you don't have to think as hard. So you can just be yourself without trying, which is always the end goal for me, trying to be myself without trying.
Yes. And your style's evolved so much. And when you first walked in, you're like, I know we met before. It's been a long time. And I'm like, I know. It was Warped Tour, like ages ago.
2015? 2014?
Probably 2015.
Okay, cool.
And I love seeing when a lot of time has passed and then I see someone again and there's just an air of like refinement and growth that you could see in a person.
Stop.
And legitimately, like, I really see that in you.
Thank you. That gives me chills. I will take it. That means a lot. Thank you. Like, I'm trying to be in this game for the long term and not kill myself and like still love the journey and be somewhat present along the way. That's my intention here. So I'm glad you can kind of feel that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But the one thing that's always stayed that I've noticed is like you are hungry for it. That has always been. I mean, I remember because I was doing like the social media for Warped Tour and I was like, wow, she really wants to get involved. Like, I just remember you were like so excited to be a part of it and just were hungry for the opportunities.
Yeah.
So like your success has grown, but it seems like your drive hasn't changed, which is interesting.
That is interesting. I think my dad told me the other day we were having dinner and he goes, you're a really intense person, you know? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do have that intensity that I bring to a lot of things. I do think now I'm 35. I've been doing this for 17 years. I do think I have hummed down a little bit. I don't feel that my energy is quite as intense as it used to be. And I don't mind it. Like, I like being slightly chilled out. And as far as hunger, I don't know. Because I really try to feel fulfilled. I really try not to put my sense of well-being or like there's something better around the corner and I gotta like chase it in order to make myself feel better. You know, I'm really trying to like sit within my own well-being apart from accomplishments.
This is, okay, wow, let's get into this because I'm very much the same way, which I think anybody who is like success-driven or career-driven doesn't take the time to relish in the achievements that have happened in the moment. You're always like, okay, now what? What's next? Always hungry, always looking forward. Yeah. So how do you balance that so that you have longevity and don't burn yourself out? Because I feel that big time.
Yeah, I feel like getting involved in status or ranking or comparing myself or thinking too much about myself at all, frankly, and where I'm at in the industry, all that is like just a killer for your soul. Like all that will dim your light. I'm trying to stay alive as long as I can internally. I'm trying
Especially
not to let
as
the
an
industry.
artist.
Yes.
As soon as your light is dim, so is your work.
That's all you got.
It's all you have.
All you got is that precious tiny little candle that you're like, please don't go out. And it still goes out. And then somehow like it comes back and you're like, oh my God, I'm a person again. But it ebbs and flows. And this industry will definitely take it out of you. It's like, it's hard. And you know, you don't want to sound ungrateful and talk about how much work it is, but it is a lot of work. And you'd be really stupid to be doing all this work and not want to be here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I know you're really big on self-care, mindset, taking care of yourself on the road, off the road. And I imagine those self-care practices are part of what helps keep your light coming back, even when it dims.
Yeah.
So what are some of those practices for you that help you stay grounded, focused?
It's so much harder on tour. Like I can barely do this stuff like predictably and consistently at home when I'm not being interrupted. And then at tour, it's like a whole other thing. But I try to remind myself, like, if my practices can't keep me aligned, like in actual everyday real life, like when I'm on tour, when I'm working, when I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to do, then what good are they? Like, who cares if I can be zen at home at 10 in the morning, like with my coffee and my dog? Anyone can do that.
This is so important because you hear like, there's just so much self-care crap on my like Explore page on Instagram. And so much of it isn't realistic or things that you can actually upkeep in your daily life while also functioning normally.
Exactly.
You know, like, I'm sorry, I can't take an hour out of my workday to meditate or, you know, stuff like
or
that.
to get your smoothie bowl or like
or
do your like
dry
jade
brush
roll.
and lymph draining. Like, I don't have time.
And
I can barely shower.
Exactly. I don't think that's self-care. I think it's like feeding like the beauty industrial complex stuff. Like that's just like them trying to get our money and be like, oh my God, I'm taking such good care of myself because I got this $20 piece of crap on Amazon. Like, I don't know about that.
Wow. Interesting observation.
The practices that they change all the time, but I do have like a great therapist that helps me, and I talk with her on Zoom maybe once or twice throughout a tour, and she always reminds me like just to like cry and to let it out. And I'll usually think I'm like zipped up and I've got it together, and then just in that safe space with her, like the tears will just start flowing. And she'll be like, okay, let's feel this in our body, and I'll be like, okay, shit, like here it is again. I feel overwhelmed. I feel burnt out. I feel tired. I feel like so frustrated. Like it all just comes up. So sitting with and welcoming the negative emotions is like part of what I'm trying to do.
Major.
And let that come out through my body, which I get to do on stage. So I feel that being on stage, thrashing my body around is a release. But otherwise, I'm in a tight space in the bus all day, which I'm very grateful to have, but it's not conducive to a lot of movement. So this tour, I'm trying to jump rope 300 times a day.
300? So like, wait, what?
Just 300 skips a day.
Okay. Wait.
Which takes like 10 minutes. It takes me 15 minutes because I'm
Okay.
too slow at it because I screw up. I can only get like 15 jumps in consecutively. Okay? That's where I'm at.
I feel that.
And just like a little bit of yoga or a couple of push-ups. Like that's what I'm trying to do to remind myself not to be all cognitive focused and be obsessing over my performance last night or what we're doing next, but instead like get in the body a little bit. This is super counterintuitive for me. That's what my therapist says to do, so I'm trying it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a therapist I love that I follow online, and she always says if you're feeling anxious or you're in your mind, you need to step into your body.
Yes.
Change your physiology. That's what she says.
That's
so,
good.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
Well, that's really great to hear. And I'm sure, too, keeping good company around you on tour is probably a big part of it, too.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this. I'm so glad you're out with Keith Wallen.
Yes.
Amazing human. And, you know, I've worked with him in a PR setting, and also you were with Citizen Soldier for a bit. So how do you choose the people that you bring out on the road or who you surround yourself with, and what do you look for in your colleagues?
Well, Well, I would say, to me, I think of the colleagues first and foremost as our touring crew, since those are the ones that we live with and we interact with the most. So in that crew, I like get to cheat for my well-being because I've got my dog and my husband. So I've got like 2 big pieces of my support system right there, which is really nice. Sometimes it's not really predictable or helpful. Sometimes Sean can't help me one bit with my well-being, and I'm 100% on my own, and that's fine too. But yeah, the people we hire are super great. They give me space. They like let me do my thing in the morning when I'm not ready to talk yet. That's really nice. As far as the bands we tour with, most often we are meeting them for the first time on the road, so we don't know them personally yet, but they come highly recommended through our booking agent, or they submitted for the tour and we like their sound. In this case, we were headlining with Citizen Soldier, and they picked Keith Wallen, Sky Daddy, us, and them, and then Citizen Soldier is done, so now we're just out with the rest of us.
Yes.
So it just kind of happened. But we love Keith. We did some writing with him on our last album. He's like a really like genuine, cool-hearted person. The more I talk to him, the more I'm like, oh my God, you're like the real deal.
No, he really is, because I remember I was at Incarceration Festival a couple weeks ago, and Keith and I, like, we worked together, but we're not, pals in person. I hadn't seen him a ton in person. And I was sitting at catering by myself, and he just came and sat with me and just kept me company. And I was like, really? What? Hey, thank you for that. Yeah. Because I think there's a lot of industry people who, when they can gain something from you or when you can help them, they're friendly. And then as soon as you're done working together, they just are gone. And Keith wasn't one of those. Yeah. And I think that's really important to look for, is like, who are the people who are really in your corner? Because that can also really change a vibe of a tour, I imagine. Yeah, exactly. It's make or break on the road. Y'all are in like summer camp together in very tight quarters. Yeah, so I'm glad you're in good company.
Yeah, he's been great.
Good. And I know you also just released a killer collab not long ago with Citizen Soldier for Victim or Survivor.
Right.
And, we're talking about all the mindset stuff. We're talking about resilience. So for you, when it comes to mindset in moments of difficulty, moments of challenge, do you find that you're kind of in charge of your mindset and how you perceive those challenges and like grow from them? Like what? Because that's how I take that title.
Okay. The title Victim or Survivor?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jake from Citizen Soldier had written the song and then brought me in after the fact. So it was already there.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I was like doing it from its inception by any means. I wrote my parts that I sang, but like he wrote the chorus, he came up with
which you were belting, by the way.
Oh, yes. Super fun. We got to sing that live every night with them. But I think I would be a little probably deluded if I really thought I could control my thoughts. I don't think I can, but I do think I can drop below thought by accessing the body.
Yes.
Right? So I think I can get moments of relief, split-second moments of relief and a break from the crazy by kind of like tuning my attention into the present moment instead of the crazy that it's feeding me.
Major. Because I always think that, like, in this moment, what is actually happening?
We're just sitting here.
We're just sitting here. There's nothing to panic about.
I know. But like if I were home at I'd be panicking at home. I'd be on the bus thinking about something. Like you're just constantly obsessing, or you're flowing. It's like you're freaking drowning or you're in flow. At least it seems like I am. So
I feel you.
It's a weird spot. It's hard to be human. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't mean for this to turn into a self-help podcast. However, you did mention wanting to talk about mindset a little bit. And I just love the things you posted online about it, and you are just such a positive figure for so many people who look up to you and love the band. And I was like, let's just go there.
Yeah.
Why not?
For sure. Wherever it leads us today, I will follow.
Wherever it leads. I'm not a therapist by any means. However, I enjoy the conversations. Yeah. But when it comes to, I think you have so much grit as somebody who's been in the industry for a long time.
I love that. Thank you.
Sorry, this is just turning into the Ariel Hype Up podcast.
Grit, yes.
You have grit, because anyone who's been in the industry for this long, you go through a lot.
Yes.
And you have to come out of those things having learned something or having leveled up in some way. So when you've had moments of challenge in Icon for Hire, how do you turn those into progress?
I mean, there's been so many moments of self-doubt, of considering a different path, of wondering if this is still giving me what what I'm putting out is giving me what I need back in to make it sustainable, on like a logistical level and then like on a soulful level too. So there's plenty of times. It's usually in the dark of winter around January. Around January 18th, I'm not touring. Like that's like when I have my little breakdown and I'm like, I don't know. And then honestly, being in such close proximity with my bandmate and my husband, Sean, like usually if one of us is weak, the other is strong, and we can like one of us will kind of like keep the thing going for a minute, and we'll take turns, and sometimes we'll align and both be really like passionate, but our passion comes and goes for sure.
So what are those drivers for you, like on a soul level, that get you stoked to be in a band?
Oh my God, like it'll be like 1 a.m. and I'll be like on my yoga mat in my office, and I'll just like have the music play, not our music, but just like some lo-fi beats playing, and I'll light a candle, and I'll just like recenter and feel the vibe again, and I'll be like reconnected to 14-year-old, 15-year-old me that felt such a like conviction that this was the path for me.
Wow.
Like that what felt so clear. Like I fell in love with rock and roll, or Linkin Park I should say more specifically, at like 13 or 14, and I was like, oh, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be out with Linkin Park is what I thought. But yeah, that's like what made me start the band, and that's been such a recentering thing for me so many times. Like I don't know, I still crave to make a mark. I still crave to have impact. I still crave to contribute, to get my feet wet, to like jump in and be part of the flow of life rather than just a spectator. All that drives me on. And I like love songwriting so much.
Yes.
I love the creative process. So if I've got people lined up willing to listen to what I make, like, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the fact that you have such passion that's driven you since you were so young, and you genuinely just love rock music, that must be, I mean, it's evident to your fans, which is probably why they stick around, because they share that love with you, right?
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to like build this thing independently. Like that drives me too.
Yeah.
The fact that we're doing things a little differently. I'm trying to see if along this journey we can carve out a slight little path for anyone who wants to come behind us or be inspired by any of the little weird things we do that aren't quite as conventional. Because, you know, there is sort of a wide path to take, and it's an easier path, and that would be the one of taking the label and like getting the funding and just doing it. And we've done that too, and that's fun in its own way.
Yeah.
But we're trying to be really sustainable about it, so that way we can write whatever we want. We can say whatever we want. We can make choices based on our own well-being and our terms, and never be beholden to an A&R executive or a manager.
I mean, that's so true, because we were even talking before the interview about like the fact that you haven't been doing too many interviews, but it's because you're doing so much direct fan content. You are really engaged with them directly, which when you have that many hands in the pot, I feel like that becomes less and less.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you have people controlling your image, controlling how you communicate with your fans, or telling you the right strategies. And like, there's just so many voices in your head. No one knows.
There's no strategy. Like, we've had so many dumbass, like, conversations with, like, management type people across the table, and they're trying to be like, it's all about XYZ. And there's been times we've listened and believed them and bought in and paid them money for that advice, you know? And then now we look back and we're like, no one's got, like, the secret. The secret is if you can find joy in your everyday life and get to be creative and, like, get to do it with people you love. Like,
and right now it's slave to the algorithm, isn't it?
It is,
Every
but I'm
artist.
not participating. I'm not fucking doing it. Like, we've got a woman, Kristen, who's like our business manager, and she posts on our behalf. And I'll like highlight photos and stuff that I like to share. But I haven't been active on my personal socials for like 2 or 3 years. And I consider that a luxury that some people don't have. And I'm sure if I was with the label, they'd make me do it. But I don't like it. To me, that dims my light. That is soul crushing. Because then I find myself looking at what everyone else is doing. Obviously, it's just a natural comparison game.
Yeah. And you've already had to deal with that comparison game your entire career. Like, I remember there was an really early interview I watched getting ready for this, where you were talking about, like, the Hayley Williams comparison. Like, that every female vocalist in 2000 whatever
that's
heard.
what they got.
So it's like you've had to deal with that for so long that now you've found your lane.
Right.
Why would you, in another way, end up in the comparison game again?
Oh, right. That's a good way to look at it.
Just,
you're right. Maybe that's part of like why I've been so like wanting to do my own thing. 'Cause I'm like, I'll show myself. Like, I'm going to carve out my own path, damn it.
Yeah. So how do you hold on to your authenticity then when, you know, at the end of the day, this is a business. Like, a band is a business. You have to be successful to keep going, but also you're wanting to do the things that bring you light. Like, how do you balance it? Is it just doesn't matter?
I mean, in a lot of ways, I look at the parts of the industry and this job that I've kept, and it's most of the parts that are most conducive to the parts that I like, which I like playing shows. I like making music. I like making music as cheaply and easily and quickly as possible. So there's not like this big like 6-month waiting game between when you record the song when it comes out and all this like marketing stuff. But yeah, holding on to authenticity, that's just what I think about all the time. It's what I'm naturally trying to do. And it comes and goes, you know, and you know, like when something just doesn't feel right and you're like, oh, that wasn't for me. Okay, I'm not going to try that again.
You get that like feeling in your chest, right? Like that, or like in your stomach, you're just like, ooh, there's like resistance in the path. Okay, let's find the smooth path again.
Right. That's true. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
I'm full of quotes today. I don't know what's going on. Is it the fact that I drank a Red Bull before coming in here? Now I'm just spitting quotes?
I'm not on your level. Like, I haven't even had coffee yet this morning. I need to, like, catch up to you.
No. You know what I am right now? I'm like, you know that skeleton meme where it's like a skeleton sitting in a seat, but like the flashing lights?
Yes, that's
so like
you.
You're kind of dead, but going like really fast anyway.
Oh my God, that's like, yes, kind of dead, but going fast anyway. That's what we're all out here doing.
Yeah, we're doing our best. We really are. But, you know, you're talking about rolling out music quickly and not having a waiting game. So, like,
Right.
what's the sitch on music at the moment? What are you working on?
It's coming. It's coming. Okay, so in December, I wrote a bunch of songs. I'd wake up at like 4 a.m. and then just like creatively dump and just like freestyle a bunch of stuff over like a track, or just make it up as I went. And then listen back, and some of it I liked. Most of it was garbage, but some of it was pretty cool. And so that I would keep, and I created like all these like songs, but just mostly lyrics, not a bunch of musical stuff. So those are all sitting in a folder somewhere.
Okay.
Got like 30 of them.
And we're just going to roll those out on Spotify, yeah?
Pretty
just
much
like that?
So now Sean, this tour, has been in the process of going through those, adding guitars, like telling me like what's good and what's not. And that's like what's so great about our partnership is I get to sort of be a little bit more like the creative, like whatever head in the clouds girl, because he's able to center it, bring it back, find out, like pick out what is worth repeating, what's course material, what's me just rambling, you know, like, so he's able to do that. He's doing that right now. And then we've got studio time booked in September where we're going to record a handful of songs. And I'm not super eager to like do 12 songs and make an album. I'm probably more wanting to do an EP or like some drip release single stuff.
Yeah. I suppose at the moment with the way people are consuming music, it's not so much about the albums anymore anyway, is it? People are really into the singles. Our attention spans are shrinking.
For sure. And we did single release stuff. We tried doing it that way a few years back. And we got a lot of comments and questions about when's the album? Is this part of an album? Where's the album? So I think the strategy for us will be like releasing singles, but being able to point fans to somewhere like, hey, there is an end game coming, you know? And I've also thought about the great momentum we've created through Kickstarter campaigns. We've done 2 campaigns for 2 different albums, and both of those were just like beautiful built-in marketing. Like we were trying to get the funds to make our album, and in the same process, we were able to spread a lot of awareness about that new music and the fact that we're still active and that we're touring.
Right.
So I'm totally not against doing something like that again.
Yeah. Well, then it's like, it must be interesting because then fans feel like they also had a hand in the process in a way, like that they were involved, or like it's because of them that your music can exist and all that.
And it totally is. It's just a matter of whether or not we are like communicating that enough, because we do Patreon as well, and not a lot of people are aware of that, but we've got a few really hardcore, like few hundred fans on Patreon that like help keep the lights on for us every month, you know. And we do things like Camp Icon, which we just made up last year. We've done it 2 years now, and it's gone really well, and it's been really cool.
For anyone who doesn't know, what is Camp Icon?
Camp Icon is a gathering for a weekend in Nashville, Tennessee, where we get together with just some of our closest fans and do acoustic shows. We eat meals together. We play games. Sean was making pancakes. We let the dog run around. It's like been in like a hotel, so it's not actually like camping. We're not like literally out there in tents. I think I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to rename it to Iconicon, because it's more like a con than it is like a camp kind of. Okay. But that has been really rejuvenating and given us clarity. Like both years that we've left that, me and Sean have looked at each other and been like, whoa, like we've built something really cool. We get to interact with it. We get to hear straight from the fans what's resonating with them and what isn't. And to have it be like non-structured and really just like organic and real versus a very like structured meet and greet. You get 30 seconds, you know, to just have it be more free flowing has been really nice.
And that must be so surreal for people who really look up to you or haven't met you before, where you're just like, oh, we're all just eating pancakes together. Like Ariel made my breakfast. Like,
for sure.
Something like that.
That's what's so fun. You get to know these like listeners on a different level. Like there's some people that have come to, 12 shows and I'm high-fiving them every time and like, hi, I kind of know your name. I kind of know where you're from. But then to sit down and like actually get to dialogue, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You all are unlike any band I've ever had on this podcast. It's just so creative, you know?
Yeah, it's like kind of fun.
You're in your own lane. Like there's like all the other bands, and then there's Icon for Hire doing summer camps.
I don't know, but like we just keep making stuff up, and that's like we have the agility to do that without having a large team. You know what I'm saying?
Agility.
Yeah,
I like that.
We can pivot quickly. If we get a tour offer, we're not already committed to something else. There's not like some great 4-year plan. We used to do that. We used to have like 20-page business plans and like the strategy on the wall, and now we're like this whole year we've been touring like 60 sold out shows with Citizen Soldier. That fell from the sky. You know, I did not create that opportunity. That wasn't because I was hashtagging right on Instagram. That was because like Jake liked our music and like made it happen, the singer of Citizen Soldier. So I'm like, okay, who knows what comes next year that's not based on my own thinking and scheming, but just because the the stars align.
Yeah. So I'm feeling fun. If you could do anything next, like any sort of wacky event, unlimited budget, unlimited resource, it's literally the sky's the limit. What would you do?
Oh my God. Okay. So like an event, like the first thing that comes to mind would be like, 30 Seconds to Mars. They've got like their island event. Okay.
To be honest, that kind of popped into my mind when you were
like
explaining
that's one of the crazier ones you can think of. Or like you think of, what is it, Fry Fest? Not that.
Firefest?
Was it Firefest?
You don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that at all. But I love the idea of like more like an island vibe. Or I'm from Sweden. It'd be cool to like do something over there, right? Like really get in touch with our roots. We have brought fans into the studio before. I think at some point that would be really cool to be more interactive. We can use them for gang vocals. We can immediately be like, hey, do you like this? Oh, one really cool thing we did at Camp Icon was we wrote a song together. So like Sean was just like on acoustic guitar and we all just started throwing out ideas. There's probably like 60 of us and a few people like really took lead and had some really good ideas. Wow. And they were throwing out great melodies and great lyrics. And so I was just kind of capturing it and we bundled it. And like an hour later, we recorded this little acoustic song. And I'm like, that's pretty fun. Yeah.
That one of a kind, once again. Okay, so Icon for Hire, Private Island, coming 2050.
I don't think Kristen will ever let us do that. But yeah, maybe one day.
Maybe Icon for Hire Sweden. Let's dream. That would be crazy. That would be really cool.
I know.
And you know what? I'm going to dream. Manifesting.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
You're welcome. And something I want to talk about too, because obviously we're on the page of, you all are your own leaders. You are your own managers. You are your own boss. And there is such a stigma of women being the boss lady, right? Of the negative connotations of she's too much, she's bossy, she's demanding. Of course, if a man was in that position, she'd be like, wow, he's just crushing it out there.
Yeah, what a dominator.
So, what a dominator. Yeah. So how have you sort of coped with your perception as the boss lady, as the woman in charge? And I don't know, how have you navigated that and made it something positive and empowering when the perception's not always great?
That's a good question. I think you get to be sheltered from it. You get to hide behind your male tour manager, or I get to hide behind my male musicians. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to let them, be the bad guys, and you're just like the sweet little naive artist in the back. Like that's easy to let happen if you don't step up. And so it's a matter of stepping up and asserting yourself when it is time and when it's important. I've definitely had cases of like walking on stage and being stopped and being like, oh, are you their girlfriend? And like asking for my pass when they don't ask for my guys' passes. That happens often. This sort of like undercurrent of just like, no one's like trying to be weird, but you're like, that's like, that wouldn't happen.
It's very subtle.
Yes.
I think we've had a lot of people comment on the podcast being like, why do you always talk about why it sucks to be a woman? I'm like,
stop.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, who else is going to freaking talk about it? Like the male interviewers aren't going to ask us these questions. Like, so thank God that you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm wanting to complain about it, but it's so subtle how it still happens. It's not overt anymore, but the misogyny's still there. The discomfort.
Who's asking these questions? Is it the white males in the comments?
Probably.
Is that the ones asking these questions?
Probably.
You need to sit down. You don't know. Okay, like every tour that's announced, every tour with the exception of 5% is like 35 white males on stage. Bless their hearts. I'm obviously a white woman. Like I love my man. I think there needs to be way more diversity in this scene. There needs to be way more inclusion. There needs to be different genders, different ethnicities, all of us. There just needs to be more than what I see.
And I think the more that representation is there, the less the security guard's going to be asking for your credentials because it'll be normal.
Exactly. And when you see all these people on stage, I'm also thinking about the dozen crew members that they've got backing up each band as well. And often there you're working again with a bunch of males too. And that's great. I love that. Males are awesome. But like,
we're not male haters. We're just trying to be constructive of be nice to us too, please.
We're trying to make the world better for the next group of people. We don't want the women that come up behind us to have to deal with the bullshit that we had to deal with to get here.
Yes.
And like, who knows how long I'll be in this industry, but I'm going to like go out kicking and screaming like with a fuss. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to be hailing this issue, like championing this issue because it is important, because if we're not hearing from the women, we're only getting in the rock world 50% of the viewpoint through just the male viewpoint, like through just the testosterone and the aggression and just that. We are missing a soulfulness that women can provide.
Yeah, because we have our own form of aggression and
power. Yes.
And it's different from a man's, and it's also really badass.
Yes.
Yes. And it's interesting because I remember there was another interview where you had said the Haley Williams comparison thing. And then also how radio stations say, well, we already have our one token woman. And,
and we still get that.
Because I was thinking that seems to have improved, so it still happens.
Yeah. So like in one particular case was a booking agent telling us, hey, I pitched you for this festival, but they said they already have a female on the stage. And I'm just like looking at this. I was like, are you serious? Like this was 2022 maybe. So I think there's a certain kind of quota that people are trying to fill, like a 5 to 10% situation.
Where it's diversity for show more than its actual desire for diversity.
And I like look at these comments under these like festival flyers and no one is noticing or caring. I would love to see just a few little like people in the comments being like, WTF, look at the stats here. I just don't feel like in any other industry this would be allowed.
Yeah.
At this level.
And
it's so blatant.
Imagine if we flipped it around and it was like, oh, we already have our one guy on the stage.
Yeah. I have a line in one of my songs. It's like, and just once I'd like to see some other band's resume go out of their way to say they're fronted by a male. Okay. Because we only say female fronted bands. No one calls it a male fronted band because that is the standard. That is what we all assume. So you have to go out of your way to distinguish. And then you get categorized and identified as that, and people think that that's the main thing that you have to offer is like
it's a genre.
Yes, here's what I have to offer. I am woman, so you will like my band. Like no, we're trying to like win everyone's hearts over just as much as the dudes. We don't think we have anything special, but we do have a voice that matters, and there should be like equal listening space for that.
Yeah. It's interesting because being female fronted is still novel. Like there's still a novelty to it,
right?
Even though. And I don't understand because there's already so many now. Like, there's way more than there used to be. So how is it that our representation is growing, but our novelty is the same? Like,
I also wonder this. I don't know.
I mean, from your perspective, constructively, what do you think is a good step for increasing diversity or, like, trying to resolve this?
So one thing that I
don't think it's your job to have the answer, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. One thing is like, okay, what can I do? So I think of myself first. Okay, me existing in this space is me trying to do something. I'm making waves by existing as a human female in this space. And so are you, right?
Thank you.
And as a human female with a little bit of authority, I can hire other human females into my space to make it easier for them to come into the industry, right? And so we do try to do that. Or we could try to put bands on our bill with diversity and, bring them on. Anytime that we do have some power, can we open the door a little bit and not just keep things the same and gatekeep, right? So it's like a matter of trying to lead by example, but I don't freaking know. I think about this all the time. I don't think there's like a clear, I'm not going to start a coalition. I don't got time. I just want I want room for the other female hearts in this space who are like 11, 12, 13 right now. I want them to see themselves. I want them to get up on that stage, to have a voice. And the industry is getting older. Like the same bands are headlining festivals now as they were 20 years ago, right?
Love Metallica, but
so many.
These are
great bands that like have done great things, and I'm like I love them and I respect them. But we also need new, fresh voices. And I hope that the audience is here for that. I hope that it's not such a male-dominated audience that they only want to see themselves in other males. I hope they are open.
Yes. Yeah. I know. And also something I think about is, you're saying you have sometimes hard times with security or like radio pinning you as the woman, blah, blah, blah. So it's tough because I've had moments where I'm like wanting to, I don't want to say fight back, but kind of rebuttal or say, no, don't be like that.
Teach them a lesson.
But teach them a lesson. But then I also still have that in me of being timid because I don't want to be that person or come off that way. And then it's even worse. Then you make a bigger mess. So what's your approach when things like that happen?
I think I'm like you. I wouldn't correct in the moment. Because you got to choose the well-being of the show and the relationship. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice the security guard being narrow-minded and not having a teachable moment with him or her in order to make the show go well, right? And then we can talk about it on hopefully a larger platform like this and something can get through. But it's also a matter of, like, being a good person, not being a bitch or which I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like trying to be as inclusive and kind and as a good-hearted person as you can, and then showing your fangs when you need to. We need to protect your family. We need to protect your company. Like
when it really matters, I will
for
fight
sure.
It.
Yeah, and that's fine. And there is room to be the bitch. And you also can make your tour manager do that for you.
Yeah, maybe I need a tour manager.
I
don't tour, but can I get a tour manager?
Yes.
Is anyone wanting to hire me? Like, can I hire you to be my tour manager for, I don't know, my podcast tour?
Yeah, right?
Podcast tour of Orlando, Florida.
Educate these people for me.
I'm looking. Hit me up in the DMs.
Yes.
Yes. Anywho, I will find my scapegoat tour manager. But in the meantime, I appreciate this insight from you and that you've been like open and cool to chat about that because it's not an easy topic and it's a frustrating one.
It is, but I don't have much to lose by talking about it. And some people do because their career is managed by men or they do have gatekeepers they need to suck up to. I don't. And
there's a lot of fear around talking about it. Yeah.
There is because
for some women, they could lose everything.
There's like maybe 5 men at the top of this industry that could give my band a whole lot of opportunities and all the other female front bands or all the male, they could give us, any one of us, a lot of opportunities. And we need those 5 men in power to not hate us. And so we can't say anything about them. And that's a weird place to be.
Yeah. And again, I do want to reiterate, not every man in the industry
is
horrible.
God, of course.
Like there are,
yes.
there are so many that, I owe a lot of my career to
yes.
very supportive men.
Yes.
So there is a place where it's like, we welcome the supportive men, teach the other men who aren't as supportive how to be. Yes. So we need them to be the examples too. So
oh my God, exactly. It's not just a female issue. It's a matter of like speaking out for people who aren't at the table.
Issue.
It's everyone's issue. Like if you have a spot at the table, make space for other minorities coming behind you. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And I see more women thinking about this because it affects us more. And I have to be honest with that too. Like this has personally affected me, so I have a vested interest in this. Like I see that, I see people being like, of course the girl wants more inclusivity for the girls. Like, who cares, Mm-hmm. But I hope that people don't get it twisted and make this issue about man bashing or feminist or not. Like, I had a fan ask me recently, do you call yourself a feminist? And she was like concerned about this. I'm like, oh, honey, feminism means you want equal rights for male and females. So yes, I will identify as that. And maybe you should too. Like,
it's definitely garnered the reputation of being extreme, as in like, well, if you're a feminist, you hate men. It's like, no. We love men who also are on the same boat of wanting to support us too. Yeah. And we support you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said. Thank you for bringing that back around. Because maybe I need to like harp on that too. I hope that my fans just know. I want equality. I love all the men and the women equally. Like that's literally the point, is equality. So it's not about bringing anyone down. It's about bringing everybody up to the same level. Exactly.
Yeah. Period.
Ding.
Ding. And getting into some girly topics because it's just fun.
Yeah, what do you got?
Talking about your fashion, you've always had an awesome reputation with the bright hair, the cool outfits on stage. So for you, how is your style synonymous with your identity as a musician? How does that go hand in hand?
I love that question. It's all about self-expression.
Yeah.
It's all about trying to turn your insides out and be like, it's like this in here. Is it like this for you? I'm trying to find my people. I'm trying to find resonance. And you can obviously communicate through the way that you dress. Mm-hmm. So in everyday life, like at home, I dress more subtle. Like this is definitely not like what I wear on stage. Like, because I'm not trying to be on or have I'm not trying to have a like communicative conversation with someone through my dress in everyday life. But on stage, I am, right? Yeah. On stage, I'm trying to show creativity and versatility and mostly be like, hey, look, I made this myself, because for me, the creative act has been so freeing and brought me so much healing that I'm trying to showcase creativity on display to encourage others to also dabble, make their own stuff, that you don't have to go to Hot Topic and buy everything.
That makes total sense. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, it was starting to be that point where I'm really into metal, I'm really into rock, and you kind of want people to know without having to say it. So it's like you're cutting up your t-shirts, you're bleaching your t-shirts, or wearing ripped jeans or Doc Martens, and it's sort of your way of communicating who you are without having to speak it.
Yes.
I think anybody who's a little bit alternative understands that.
Yeah.
That self-expression and creativity.
It's how you find your people. It's how you're like, oh, you're weird too.
And also how I repel the people I don't want around.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is interesting. Like, don't you feel that like alternative dressing has become a much bigger thing in the last like 15 years and so much more mainstream? Like, it gets harder and harder to differentiate yourself when we're all just doing it the same way, right?
And I'm really a little offended because when I was 16, I was bullied so relentlessly for having red hair. And I'm like, oh, so now it's cool, huh? All the girls who laughed at me think this is cool now,
right?
Huh? Now you want to step into a hot topic. Where were you 10 years ago?
Right, exactly. But like, you've been your authentic self from the beginning, and think of the joy and creativity that I hope that you got from bleaching and from cutting and from cutting your shirts. No.
We really need to clarify cutting the t-shirts. Whoa.
From getting our feelings out through slashing the stuff and just, like getting to go to like a freaking thrift store and like buy a curtain and turn it into a skirt. See, that was like so
I wasn't that creative.
Oh, I don't know. Like that was.
I can't sew, but you, yes.
I did and I do, and I like just, it gives me a lot of joy before a tour to like put together some weird outfit and just have fun with it. Yeah.
A curtain skirt. I like it.
Yeah, I'll wear one tonight so you can see what I'm talking about.
Please. Yeah. I look forward to it. That is awesome. Yeah. But yeah, and also no shade. Honestly, I think it's really cool that alternative culture is cooler now. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when our music and our style is supported by the masses, that means more success for the artists I love. So
You're exactly right.
That's a win.
And it's so great that, like, through the power of the internet, we've been able to, like, communicate and reach people in a different way. People are able to find themselves in that scene, in that community, in a way that they couldn't in the mainstream. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason to gatekeep our music, because at the end of the day, when there's more success for the people we want to see rise up, and then the music can stick around longer,
right?
Because it's sustainable.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yeah,
good point.
Don't gatekeep your favorite bands. Tell people about your favorite band so they stay your favorite band.
Yeah, that's good.
And I also, we've talked a little bit about the longevity of your career. I mean, 17 years now as a band. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
So looking back, this is my question. This is a fun one. What is one thing that you look back and you cringe at now? And one thing that you stand by as being a foundational decision that set the precedent of your career?
Whoa. Girl, these are great questions. Okay.
Thank you.
I cringe at a lot. Okay.
I feel.
Don't watch past performance videos of us. I don't watch our own music videos. I listen to our albums once every 5 years. Like, I just do not interact with our art because it's always going to make me feel like this. Or, sometimes I'm like, oh, I love it. But a lot of times I'm like, oh, that wasn't quite right. You know? So I'm going to have like that self-judgment and stuff. On a more specific moment, this didn't make me cringe, but I do look back and wonder what I was thinking a little bit, was one of our music videos. It was called Off With Her Head. It's this very avant-garde, like strange, weird video. And I loved the process, and I trusted the directors, and I still don't know what that video was about. And like, I thought I would get it in post. They're like, we're going to edit it all together. There's going to be a clear narrative. And even afterwards, I'm like, guys, I'm not sure what's going on here. And so sometimes fans come up and ask me, and they have these great concepts, and I'm like, maybe that's what it is. Like, yeah, you're right. Because I don't know. So that would have been something I probably could have had like a couple more conversations just to get on the same page. So I felt like a sense of ownership and like I understood what was going on. Mm-hmm. But a decision that I stand by would be filing bankruptcy and leaving our record label.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Bold.
Yeah.
Bold.
It nearly sunk us.
Right.
But it didn't. And then after that, we were able to float on our own and have that freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a great answer. Both are great answers.
Thanks.
And now we know for your future music videos, you have a little more input.
Yeah, I gotta like do a little bit more research and not just like blindly trust the director. Yeah.
But you know what? We love art that is open to interpretation.
Exactly.
That's great.
I'd rather be like a little too weird than like too vanilla, I guess.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. At least you kept it interesting.
Yes.
And your creative outlets span far and wide. You also wrote a book. Mm-hmm. You did. It's Turn Your Pain into Art. When did you know it was the right time to write a book? Because that is a big milestone. And I feel like if I was to ever write a book, I always would have the imposter syndrome of, have I lived enough life to be writing a book yet? So when did you know it was the moment for you?
It's a fair question. Have I lived enough to know enough to write a book yet? Like, I still feel that way looking back, writing a book in my mid-20s. Like, I knew, and I still know what a weird to write a memoir when you're 25. Like,
but also you went through a lot for, someone in their mid-20s. You lived a lot more life than most 20-year-olds.
I don't know. I love to write, and I journal every day, like, for a long time. I write a lot. So, like, if I ever wanted to turn those into books, I have, like, 30 years practically of, like, stuff, essentially, because it's, like, how I document. So it was already part of my kind of, like, rhythm, and then fans were interested in it and asking for a more, like, in one place of my story and ideas. And I just went for it because we are independent. It felt kind of like writing an album. It felt like something I was more comfortable with. And we released it independently without, like, it wasn't professionally published. We self-published because, like, that's our shtick. We just do it ourselves. And it actually did pretty well. And it was, like, I don't know, in the top 5 on Amazon for a minute. It, like, did well on Audible and stuff. So it ended up being, like, I guess I just didn't really think too hard about it. I just did it. And now looking back, maybe I would have thought it through differently. But I can see myself writing more books, and that'll just be like one of 5. And so it'll just kind of get lost in the mix. I'm thinking long term,
Yeah. I think it's really incredible you wrote a book, though. That is not an easy feat. That is.
You're right.
As someone who loves to write.
Yeah. You love to write too.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how I got into PR. Because
cool.
I'm like, I'll write hundreds of emails every day. This sounds fun.
No way.
So,
okay, cool.
Yeah. But even as someone who writes, like, my Grammarly tells me I'm in the top, like, 1% of people. Like, I write a lot. But even still, writing a book seems like a completely different beast. So I commend you.
Thank you. It was daunting. I'd go to, like, a lot of different, like, Nashville coffee shops and just write stuff out. Or I'd get, like, on an inspirational kick and do, like, a bunch in 2 weeks. And I started it on tour in Europe on the Hollywood Undead tour. We were in a basement. And me and Sean were arguing, and he's like, "You've been talking about writing that fucking book for 2 years. When are you going to do it?"
Ooh.
And I was like, okay. And that's when I started it. So, like, that was the linchpin, was him, like...
So is that a driver when you have somebody challenging you?
I guess so. Him in particular, because
I'm competitive. So
Yeah.
if somebody does that to me, I'm doing it immediately.
Right. Sometimes it backfires because I'm like, I don't even care what you think, so I'm not going to do what you just told me I can't do. But in this case with Sean, someone whose opinion I respect and whose admiration I want, like, I was like, fine, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And it worked out, yeah.
Yeah, it turned out to be a great challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to write another book sometime, what would the next one be?
It'd be like, first of all,
Hypothetically.
disregard everything I wrote in book one. Put this away.
No.
I want to write about more of the journey. Just, yeah, like the things that are in my head all the time. I want to write about, like, can we save ourselves? Like, can we extract ourselves from the bullshit mess that is this culture?
Yeah.
And not get sucked away in the tides and lose ourselves entirely, because that is what I see happening. That is what I feel happening. I feel like social media and the culture has really, like, put us all in a bad spot. Like, none of us know how to, like, sit by ourselves for 5 minutes. I know. None of us know how to access our own inner flame anymore. Like, we don't know if we have one, right? Someone talks about that and you're like, I don't fucking know. I'm just going to go scroll on Reddit again. And it's like a part of you feels dead inside, or I'll speak for myself. A part of me feels dead inside often. And I have to rekindle that connection to source, to higher power, whatever it is I'm calling it that day. Sometimes it's presence. Sometimes it's awareness.
That's
sometimes
beautiful.
it's God. Yeah, it's just like an all-you-can-eat buffet of spiritual concepts.
All-you-can-eat buffet. I love it.
But
Yes.
it's like whatever nourishes us. And some of us are not nourishing ourselves, and we don't have access to that. We don't know how to.
I will pre-order this book so
Oh my
fast.
God. Okay.
We need it.
Yeah.
We need it. And
Cool. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, mindfulness. It's
I guess.
yes.
I don't know. I know enough to know I'm unqualified to talk about it.
Well, you are qualified because you're feeling it.
I'm
You're
feeling it.
experiencing it just like everybody else. So
Yeah.
in that way, you're eloquent enough to speak on it more than most.
I
so.
don't know. You know, do you read like Glennon's work? Glennon Doyle. She's got like some cool work.
I
in the
know
world.
of her, yeah.
Okay, yeah. She's got this like canary in the coal mine thing. You know, it's like a common metaphor where it's like, yeah. And I love that. Like, who is going to be the one who like chirps up like, "Hey guys, we got a problem here. We're all dying." Like, I feel that inner alarm bell in myself, and I've always felt it. So I think that's a sign that I'm supposed to be the obnoxious one with the gong, being like, "Hey guys, we're gonna fucking die if we don't get our stuff together."
Yeah.
So the art is me trying to like let that come out in a succinct way, or it will eat me alive from the inside. You know.
That was poetic.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
But also like dark.
Yeah.
But I feel you. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna remember this today when I'm doom scrolling my Explore page on Instagram till my time limit comes up on my phone. So
Oh my God.
thank
At least you have a time limit.
I don't listen to it, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's always 15 more minutes.
Right.
15 more.
And we all do it, but like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And then we all complain that we don't have enough time or space or brain anything quiet to like sit with ourselves, and we feel like we're like always just like jacked up and doing the next thing, and like, yeah. It's,
Yeah.
like, not sustainable.
Chaotic.
I don't think we're gonna make it.
Yeah. Well, you let me know when you're writing that book. I'll be first to review.
Thanks.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Oh
I'm
my
on
God.
it.
You'll be like running the whole PR world by then, so you can like help
Let's
put it in
go.
people's hands. We have a whole plan. I love
Let's
this.
go.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
My people call your people. We got it.
That sounds
Even
great.
though we don't have people because we are independent women.
Exactly. We will
With
just
no
find each other
manager.
directly. Yes. Yes.
Well, I want to end this episode with a quick rapid fire. 4 questions we always ask of jaw-dropping things. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What is the most jaw-dropping experience you've had at a show?
Okay. Well, 2. So
Yes.
a woman came on stage to sing with, like, we invited girls on stage to sing a song Now You Know, and she threw up right in the middle there on stage and got vomit like all over the floor and on her shoes and on the gear and stuff from nerves.
Oh no.
I know. And then she went side stage and threw up again. So that kind of sucked. But recently we had a heckler at a show, which we don't have a lot of. And she like started like calling out to us like in the middle of the set and questioning our motives. She was like, "Did you make a move for us? Did you do it for the right reasons?" Like, she was trying to like call us out, but I wasn't really sure what she was talking about. She's like, "You guys have sold out." John's like, "We can't sell out. We're playing a club to 75 people. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?" Like, it was just like a moment. Like, she was obviously like
Wow.
on some stuff in a different world, but that just like shook it up when you're just like you're doing your show. Okay, this is not a rapid fire answer. I'm sorry.
No. That was one of the crazier answers
Okay,
I've ever
good.
heard.
Yeah.
Great. The most jaw-dropping misstep earlier in your career and the lesson you learned from it.
Okay, gosh. I think it would be trusting industry people that they see something and have the answer, and I need to be in their favor in order to make my dreams come true.
Boo to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like that feeling of sitting across at the table. They've got the money. They're buying the food. You're beholden to them. You're just the poor, dumb little artist. And like this power imbalance and them sort of out of touch, frankly. Like they're not in it. They used to be in it 20 years ago, but they're not in the industry anymore, really. Clue. And them trying to impart the wisdom and the authority and be like, you will. It's bullshit. Yes. They don't know. Yeah.
Drop the mic on that one. Yeah. Well, not really. It's on a mic stand, but you know. Most jaw-dropping female artist you'd love to work with?
Oh my God. Okay. Maybe Florence Welch from Florence and the Machine. Yeah.
Ooh, I haven't heard that answer on this podcast.
Oh, really?
That's a good one.
She's so
and different
yummy.
genre.
Yes.
Yummy.
Just like love how she just like presents on stage. She's so flowy. I'm like, girl, I want what you're on. Like she's just always just in this vibe. Yeah.
Great answer. And last one, most jaw-dropping misconception about you that you wish people understood.
Oh.
If this one needs to be a little less rapid fire, I understand. That's a big question.
Okay, take a moment. Well, this isn't a maybe big one. This might be skirting the answer a bit, but I am a germaphobe, so I don't love a lot of people like in my physical space. And I get a lot of people in the nature of this industry and like talking about mental health. I get a lot of people come up to me and are like, "Can I just give you a hug?" And so that kind of sucks. Where I've learned to like just say no because it's not something I'm comfortable with. And then I walk away feeling like I should have been nicer, but I also wanted to stand up for myself and have boundaries. So I worry about trying to find that line of having boundaries and creating a world where I'm comfortable with, but also people not having a misperception that I am like cold or don't care about their pain or don't want to validate them in that moment. Because I do, I'm just not physically.
That is such a great answer because fans think they know you. They think they're so comfortable with you because they're familiar with you, but you don't know them. They don't know your boundaries, but they assume it's comfortable and cool because you're an artist, whatever.
I've seen it so much more. Like the hugging thing's gotten a lot bigger. And that's great. Like hug the people you love. But like at a sweaty show with a bunch of just like grossness, I don't want to be physically close to other hot human bodies. I just don't like it.
I feel you. Yeah. I feel you. Well, that's great to know. So anyone who's listening to this, you know, what? So what's
Fist
the
bumps.
move? Fist bump?
Yes, because even handshakes, like you touch the handle of a bathroom or anything, right?
Yeah.
I think this is probably the cleanest part of the human body that you can interact with. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tell me in the comments. Is there something else? Should we do like a pinky? I don't know.
Oh, don't people the elbow thing?
Okay. I don't know. That'd be weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
The fist bump thing is already weird, but I'm like trying to normalize it and be like, it's cool, right, guys? We're just gonna fist bump.
And especially as a girl, like I don't get fist bumped super often, so I always like go for like a high five, and then it's a fist bump, and then I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. I don't like the high five either. Just as many germs.
Yeah.
As a handshake, you know?
Fist bumps. Let's make it a thing.
I've got like my hand sanitizer on my laminate here. So it's just like always on my hips so I can just constantly be like, hi. It's like a little move.
I love it. Well, thank you for clarifying. That's actually a really good one. Okay, good. And Ariel, this has been beyond a pleasure. This has been so wonderful.
Thank you, Tori.
This hour flew by.
It really did.
And I appreciate your time and have a great show tonight and all the things.
Thanks for having me, making space for this beautiful conversation.
Of course, anytime. And everybody who's watching, we'll do wide cam. Hey guys, if you're watching this, first of all, listen to Icon for Hire. If you haven't already by now, you've learned a lot. And if you want to check out more of She's with the Band, it's every other week here on KNOTFEST, all streaming platforms. Leave us a review. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps the podcast a ton. And we'll catch you next time. Bye, y'all.